August 1944. An encrypted message reaches German military headquarters. Mathematics is impossible. 82% destroyed. In a single day, Hitler's vengeance weapon, the revolutionary V-1 flying bomb, is being obliterated by coastal defenses with a success rate that violates every law of ballistic physics. German commanders face an unbearable conclusion. They are witnessing a technological advantage they cannot comprehend, let alone defeat. This is the untold story of how American mass production and British air defense destroyed a weapon that German science believed was nearly unstoppable. But neither side understood the secret. A tiny electronic device, no bigger than a cigarette pack, was rewriting the rules of modern warfare. On June 13, 1944, exactly 1 week after D-Day, Hitler unleashed Operation Doodlebug. The V-1 was history's first operational cruise missile, a pilotless aircraft powered by a revolutionary Argus pulse-jet engine carrying 850 kilograms of explosives at 640 kilometers per hour. The first bomb landed on Grove Road in Bow, London. 6 people died instantly. Within days, thousands would perish. German military planners had calculated ruthlessly. Even at a conservative 25% success rate, the V-1 would deliver more explosive tonnage to London than the entire Blitz of 1940–41. Each missile cost only 5,000 Reichsmarks, a fraction of a manned bomber mission, with zero risk to Luftwaffe pilots. Dr. Robert Lasser, who designed the V-1's control system, was confident in his mathematics. British fighters needed speeds exceeding 650 kilometers per hour just to catch the weapon. Anti-aircraft gunners faced an even grimmer reality. The probability of scoring a direct hit on such a small, fast-moving target was less than 1 in 10,000 shells fired. By late June, something was wrong. The interception rate climbed from 10% to 24%. Then July arrived, and the impossible happened. German observers on the French coast watched V-1s fly steadily toward England. Then suddenly, they were surrounded by anti-aircraft bursts, and the missiles tumbled from the sky. The explosions were occurring too far away for direct hits. This defied everything German engineers understood about ballistic warfare. Unknown to German intelligence, they were witnessing proximity fuses turning near misses into kills. The Allies had deployed a technology so revolutionary that it carried the same security classification as the atomic bomb. The VT variable time fuse, a miniature radio transmitter packed inside an artillery shell that could detonate when sensing the presence of a target, rather than requiring a direct impact. By August 1944, American factories were producing 40,000 VT fuses daily. The Crosley Corporation alone, a pre-war manufacturer of radios and refrigerators, employed 10,000 workers producing 16,000 fuses daily at peak capacity. Sylvania Electric dedicated its entire vacuum tube division to developing components ruggedized to survive 20,000 G-forces during gun firing. They produced 400,000 miniaturized tubes every single day. 95% were incorporated into proximity fuses. Over 110 factories contributed to production, each compartmentalized so that workers knew only their specific tasks. The American electronics industry had mobilized entirely for one purpose: creating an invisible shield over London. By war's end, 22 million proximity fuses would be produced at a cost exceeding $1 billion 1940s dollars. The unit cost plummeted from $732 in 1942 to just $18. During the final week of August 1944, the British reorganized their entire air defense system. American SCR-584 radar units automatically tracked incoming V-1s. The radar calculated trajectories and fed firing solutions directly to gun crews. When V-1s crossed the English coast, They entered a kill zone where technology had obsoleted statistics. The proximity fuse contained miniature radio transmitters built by Sylvania Electric and Western Electric, components based on hearing aid designs but reinforced to survive extreme acceleration, temperature, and pressure. When the shell flew close to a V-1, reflected signals triggered electronic detonators in microseconds. Steel fragments tore through the missile's aluminum fuselage. On the peak day in late August, coastal guns destroyed 82% of incoming V-1s, a rate German engineers deemed physically impossible. Before proximity fuses, destroying a single V-1 required an average of 2,500 heavy shells. With VT fuses, this dropped to 100 shells per target. The transformation was absolute. The 82% interception rate triggered crisis meetings at German military headquarters. General Max Wachtel, commanding Flak Regiment 155W, suspected sabotage. Emergency inspections found nothing wrong with the missiles. Test firings over German territory showed normal performance. The problem manifested only against British defenses. German experts concluded the British had developed revolutionary anti-aircraft systems, but couldn't determine specifics without captured examples. They tried varying altitudes, launching larger salvos, night operations, and weather exploitation. Nothing worked. The kill rate remained devastating. At Peenemünde Army Research Center, scientists faced an uncomfortable reality. The Allies had achieved what Germany thought impossible. They had attempted developing proximity fuses themselves. Over 30 different designs were researched. None achieved operational status. German engineers had concluded that proximity fuses were theoretically impossible. The technical challenges seemed insurmountable, miniaturizing transmitters and receivers for artillery shells, making vacuum tubes survive the violent forces of gunfiring, creating batteries that remained dormant for years, yet activated instantly when needed. It seemed to violate every principle of physics. The contrast between German and American approaches was absolute. Germany handcrafted weapons in limited numbers using forced labor from concentration camps. Tens of thousands of prisoners died in underground factories manufacturing V-1s. America transformed its civilian electronics industry entirely for weapons production. Workers volunteered overtime for premium wages. Most of the 80,000-person workforce didn't know exactly what they were making, but they understood its importance. Monthly American proximity fuse production exceeded total German V-1 production for the entire war. Dr. Merle 2V, who led proximity fuse development at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, later reflected that success came from systematic collaboration between scientists, engineers, and production workers, something totalitarian systems couldn't achieve. The proximity fuse represented warfare's fundamental transformation. Victory through engineering and production rather than individual weapon superiority. It proved that modern warfare was a contest between industrial systems, not just military forces. By September 1944, the V-1 offensive was effectively neutralized. Of 9,521 V-1s launched from ground sites against Britain, only 2,515 reached London, killing 6,184 civilians and injuring 17,981. While tragic, these casualties represented a fraction of German intentions. General Frederick Pyle, commanding Anti-Aircraft Command, calculated that without proximity fuses, V-1 casualties would have been 4 to 5 times higher. The proximity fuse had saved London from devastation. Germany possessed brilliant scientists. America possessed effective mass production. The Germans watched their perfect weapons fall burning from the sky, never understanding why. The technology that defeated them was inconceivable within their scientific framework. When German forces later captured an American ammunition dump containing proximity fuses during the Battle of the Bulge, They never recognized what they held. Their assumption that such devices were impossible blinded them to evidence in their own hands. After Germany's surrender, interrogations revealed complete German ignorance about proximity fuses. German scientists shown captured American VT fuses expressed disbelief. They estimated they were 10 years behind American technology. The proximity fuse wasn't declassified until September 1945. The War Department announcement called it one of the most important weapons developed during the war, surpassed in effectiveness only by the atomic bomb. For German scientists who had puzzled over V-1 failures, revelation brought understanding and humiliation. They had been defeated not by strategy or courage, but by industrial capacity they hadn't imagined possible. They had lost not to warriors, but to assembly lines. On that remarkable day in late August 1944, when proximity fuses destroyed 82% of German V-1s, the nature of warfare changed forever. America's greatest victory wasn't on battlefields. It was in factories where millions of workers, many of them women who didn't know what they were making, produced tiny electronic devices that saved a city and transformed warfare forever. The Germans, watching their perfect weapons fall from the sky, never knew what hit them.